Richard Skipper celebrates. Every show is a celebration. Each show, Richard delivers the artists you love, showcasing what makes them unique. Never gossipy. The antidote to a sometimes hectic world. Now, here's your host, Richard Skipper.
Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to Richard Skipper Celebrates. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. And for those of you who are here for the first time, my show is about celebrating artists and their body of worth. What makes a great artist? How do they get from point A to point B and beyond? And especially now, during a pandemic, how are they keeping the creativity flowing? I am very excited about today's show. We are going international today. We have the incredible Maria Elena Infantino. And I want to give a big shout out to my friend Barbara Sickman, who suggested that I do this interview. And as I have been delving into Maria's life and career, all I can say is wow, wow, wow. She's done it all. I think the only thing that she hasn't done is probably stilt walking or tightrope walking, or perhaps she has that in her resume as well. Before I bring her on, I'd like to share with all of you an incredible clip of her as Edith Piaf. And this will show you some of the magic that is Maria Elena Infantino. Here she is.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonsoir. Some may say that I lead an unconventional life. It's true. I definitely don't believe in moderation. Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. Ni le bien qu'on m'a fait, ni le mal. Tout ça m'est bien égal. Rien. Qui sait jouer la java? Elle écoute la java, mais elle ne la danse pas. Elle ne regarde même pas la piste. Et ses yeux amoureux suivent le jeu nerveux et les doigts secs et longs de l'artiste. Ça lui rentre dans la peau par le bas, par le haut. Elle a envie de chanter, c'est physique. Alors pour oublier, elle s'est mise à chanter. C'est une œuvre étendue de la musique. Le temps de commencer ou de finir. Le temps d'illuminer ou de souffrir. Mon Dieu, mon Dieu, mon Dieu, laissez-le-moi, oh seulement à moi. Même si j'ai tort, quand il me prend dans ses bras, il me parle tout bas, je vois la vie en rose. Allez, venez, Milan, vous asseoir à ma table. Il fait si froid dehors, ici c'est confortable. Laissez-vous faire, Milan, et prenez bien vos aises, vos peines sur mon cœur et vos pieds sur une chaise. Je vous connais, Milan, vous ne m'avez jamais vu. Je ne suis qu'une fille du port, une ombre de la rue. But I miss you most of all, my darling. When autumn leaves start to fall, stop the bells, I've no tears left to cry. Shall I stay here in hell? Lord above, let me die. Heaven have mercy. Heaven have mercy. Heaven have mercy. Il dit, rappelle-toi tes amours. Rappelle-toi puisque c'est ton tour. Y a pas de raison pour que tu ne pleures pas. Avec tes souvenirs sur tes bras. Et moi, je revois ce qui reste. Mes 20 ans font battre tambour. Je vois s'entrebattre des gestes. Toute la comédie des amours sur cette terre qui bat toujours. Are you ready? Padam, padam, padam. Des je t'aime des 14 juillet. Padam, padam, padam.
Maria, thank you for being here today. How are you? I want to ask, we are at the time of this taping, we are in the midst of a pandemic. How are you dealing with everything really in the midst of everything?
Well, it is a strange situation, but in this strange situation, you make such wonderful acquaintances like you. Meeting you is a wonderful thing that's happened.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I am the lucky one here. No, you're in London right now. Am I correct?
Yes, it started like this whole year I've been moving around and COVID's been chasing me, but I've escaped it so
Don't
far.
let it catch you.
Yes. So basically, I left LA in February last year, and I was gonna come back in April to sing for the Prince of Italy for the annual gala that we do. And so I went to Rome because it was my birthday. Then I went to London. Then I went to Luxembourg.
So
And
when is your birthday?
20th of February.
Okay, mine's the 11th. So here we are. Yes.
And so basically I then went to Bulgaria because I had to do a couple of meetings for some concerts for next year. And I got stuck there because I arrived on the 8th of March, 13th of March, they closed Bulgaria, I couldn't get out. And I said, and then you didn't know how serious the situation was because it was just happening. It's fresh, it's new, you don't know the magnitude of the impact.
Exactly.
You're not taking it seriously at all. So I was like, I'll stay here a couple of more weeks. It's fine. And then everything will be over and I'll go back to the States. And I remember we were just emailing with the organization back in LA. Do you think that the show is going to be canceled, the gala? And they're like, we don't know. So I stayed. And then they canceled in April. And I stayed 5 months in Bulgaria as a result of that. Because, do you risk flying back 14 hours and catch? Yeah. So I stayed. I turned the negative into positive. Many beautiful things happened because I'm half Bulgarian, half Italian.
Yes.
So I had never lived so long in Bulgaria in my life. Everything happens for a reason.
Bulgaria is on your mom's side?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now your father, Luigi Infantino, well-known, famous opera singer. Was your mom in the business as well?
Oh yeah, both my parents are opera singers. So my mom is an opera singer, my dad is too. My mom is a soprano, my dad is a tenor.
And they get along great.
Yes.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I'm alone. Well, I have a half sister from my dad's previous marriage, but that's about it.
So you grew up surrounded by music.
Yes, music was our normality. It was normal to bump into Pavarotti, Placido Domingo. I thought that was normal.
Now I want to go back, to leaving LA and going to Bulgaria, and everything that was happening around that. What is your earliest memory of hearing the word COVID and the fact that this pandemic was taking over the world?
So I was in Rome, and they were saying, and I was supposed to go to Milan to see my stylist for, gowns and things. And I was like, and people were like, "Oh, don't take the train; it's dangerous." I'm like, "I'm going to take it." I didn't take it for some reason, and because you remember in Italy, north of
Oh my
Italy,
God,
where
yeah.
it was spreading. I was headed there. Somehow I didn't go, and I stayed in Rome, and then I went to all my travels. And then what happened in Bulgaria was that I started doing a lot of TV interviews because it was a sensation. Elena Infantino with Bulgarian roots is stuck in Bulgaria. Let's hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of taught me to make lemonade out of lemons. And it turned out great. I mean, I have a few projects because of it now. And, after COVID, we're ready to roll in Bulgaria.
That's great. Well, let's talk about that lemonade that you created. Did you get stuck in your tracks, or are you the kind of person that says, this is the situation, we're going to work through it? How has it affected you as far as your work is concerned?
It happened naturally because at first you're like trying to figure it out. Am I going back to LA? Am I staying? I'm in Bulgaria. What am I doing? Then Bulgaria starts calling you on TVs. You're like, oh, that's fun. So the approach was, this is fun. Why not? Let's do it. And then, of course, my mom is in Rome, even though she's Bulgarian, she's the one living in Rome. Mm-hmm. She told me, you know what the thing is with you? Wherever you end up, you're fine. You have friends all over the place. You pick up the phone. You could even be in the desert. You would just create roses, a rose garden. I was like, well, thanks, Mom. So that's more or less what happened.
Now, when you travel, do you travel mostly alone, or do you have an entourage that travels with you?
Okay, so when I have concerts in Rome at the Vatican, I do have an entourage because it's the Vatican. So everybody comes from LA. Oh, we happen to be in Rome that day. Oh, we're in Berlin, but we'll swing by to Rome. So it happens.
Swing by. I love that. Swing by to Rome.
Yeah. So I have a lot of international friends that just follow. It happened also when I started my career by mistake as a singer because I wanted to be an actress. I started my career in London at the Royal Albert Hall, which Dame Shirley Bassey.
Now, I want to talk about this because you're right out of school, and your first big moment is at Royal Albert Hall with Shirley Bassey in a celebration of the Beatles.
Yes.
How did that happen?
In a very odd way. Everything keeps on happening. You have to play ball, and you have to go with it.
Oh,
so,
my God.
Drama school. We do only 4 hours a day of singing, a week of singing. So I'm like, it's not in my thought. I want to escape it. My parents are opera singers. I shall not do that. Of course, first job out of drama school. Oh, you get offered by a friend to sing at the Royal Albert Hall if, oh, do you know Shirley Bassey? Can you help us with the show? I was like, well, a friend of mine actually knows her. Oh my God, you rock. Please sing too. I was like, but I'm not a singer. I'm an actress. And it so happens that was the inauguration of my singing career. And 30 years before that, my father had sung there. So I started my career on the same stage as my dad.
That's
so that
amazing.
was a nice, blessing. And the entourage came from Rome, from Bulgaria, from Luxembourg. All my cousins, all my friends, whoever was in Europe just came to the Royal Albert Hall.
Now, there has to be a moment in a person's life where you say, I want to pursue this as a career. Now, obviously, you've got both parents that are in the business. So you're seeing both the pluses and the minuses. Maybe there weren't many minuses with your parents. Were there periods of time where they were not working or something so that you saw the flip side of success?
No, it's pretty much been the gypsy life. My mom would always say, we are queens and gypsies at the same time.
That's great.
So it was interesting to grow up in a family of artists where, you have people from all over the world swing by at home and people speaking different languages and not necessarily the same one. but then one of them would get on the piano, the other one would grab the violin, the other one would sing, and everyone understood everyone. So I didn't see downsides. The only thing, of course, the tragic comedy before the show. I remember we were in Rigoletto production in Cairo. And of course, so I'm not going to do names, say names, nothing, but it's, I will never work with this person ever again. This is it. Finito. Basta. And then, of course, after the concert, I love you. You're wonderful. What a wonderful experience.
That, folks, is show business in a nutshell.
Growing up into that, I'm like, these people are crazy. I mean, they hate each other before the show and love each other after the show. No. So, but you just.
Now, did your parents perform together a lot?
At the beginning of my mom's career, yes, because there was a big age gap between my father and my mom. He was already this celebrated superstar, and my mom was at the very beginning of her career. And so at the beginning, he was the maestro who taught her the first steps. And I mean, she already had won a scholarship at the Santa Cecilia. She had sung with Mario del Monaco in Venice. She was his Desdemona.
With all due respect, when did they have the time to have you?
In between concerts, Actually, I had this conversation with my mom last week. I said, well, I never asked you that, but where was I conceived? And she said, well, actually in the house in Rome. I was like, oh, how normal and common is that? It wasn't anywhere else in the world, just Rome where we lived. I'm like, okay, fine.
Well, Judy Garland used to sing that she was born in a trunk. Do you think that you were born in a trunk?
Yes, I thought so. I was like, Switzerland or some festival or some, normal.
Now, when was the first time that you remember seeing your parents on stage?
I don't remember it because this is just shown to me through photos and some videos. There's this beautiful video of my mom pregnant with the belly by the piano with my dad on the piano and they're singing together. But I've never seen them perform together, unfortunately. Maybe just, amongst us, but not on stage.
Mm-hmm. So going back, what was the defining moment for you that you decided you wanted to be an actress? I mean, obviously, both of your parents are singers. Was it the fact that they were singers that you wanted to pursue a different path?
Yes. I was like, definitely I'm not going to do what they do. Because it was normal, like we would sing at home. I'm like, I'm not going to do something that we all do. And then, of course, in drama school, some people couldn't sing. And I was like, that's not normal. And no one had been to the opera. I was like, what's wrong with you people? So it was very strange to get a touch of reality outside of our bubble. But I didn't want to be a singer. So I pursued acting from the age of 14. I joined the theatre school Saturdays and Sundays in Rome. And of course, we would do Shakespeare, Garcia Lorca, or Lope de Vega, all of that. And then I auditioned in London at the age of 18 and I got accepted. And so I moved to London for acting. And of course, the first job was as singing, normal.
Of course.
Now, and one thing led to the other. So it was a normal transition in the way that, yes, my thought was I want to be an actress. I want to be in London doing acting. But then, things happened.
Now, of course, it takes a certain bit of confidence to be either a great actress or a great singer, both. You had studied to be an actress, but the confidence was there for you to be a singer, obviously, to make such a leap. I mean, there's such a thing as paying your dues, but you started right up here, which is an amazing, achievement. So what are your recollections of that night at Royal Albert Hall and the aftermath of that evening?
At first I was like, no, they're not asking me to sing with all, because it wasn't just Shirley Bassey, there were so many other celebrities, and I'm like, little me in all of this. But when you're young, you don't overthink, you just do. And I was fine up until 30 seconds before you go on stage. It hit me. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? But then they call your name. The presenter's like, no, Elena Infantino for her debut. And you just go in the zone. You forget about everything. You just do. And yeah, and I had rehearsed it. It's like a second nature. So you just do, and you get into that zone, and nothing else matters. It's like, you know, when you're about to faint, you're there.
Last night, I was watching an interview with, believe it or not, Pete Buttigieg, who just got elected to the transportation secretary. And he said just before he was sworn in, Vice President Kamala Harris said to him, drink it all in, know what you're going through, because it's going to go by very fast. And I'm thinking, you know, listening to this story now, were you able to drink in the enormity of what was happening, or did it just seem to fly by?
I didn't even remember being on stage almost. It was just bum, you know? And I was like, did I sing everything? Did it happen? You know, you're in, you're out. That's it. So you better be rehearsed.
Now, were you on just for the one song, or did you return for a group song or a finale?
Yes, there was the finale, and we were all together on stage. So I was actually on stage with Shirley Bassey, and I was just, and we sang "All You Need Is Love," and I just looked, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's like 4 people."
Is there a recording of that evening? I would love to see that.
Yes, there is. There is some on YouTube, but it's very far away. But there is the professional recording somewhere. But it's unbelievable. And the same thing happened when I found myself in another situation like that in New York at the 92Y at the celebration.
That's where you met Barbara Sickman.
Yes, yes. And it was the night that we were celebrating Mike Stoller's career. And I still keep that email, 2 emails. One from Mike, because we became good friends. And then Mike, at some point, he emailed me, would you do me the honor of singing at the 92Y for my 80th birthday celebration? Like, you the honor? I'm the one who's honored. So I keep that email. Then I keep the other email from the production saying, please brush up on your Stand By Me song, because you'll be all on stage with Benny King, Steve Tyrell, Tommy Tune, and etc. And I was like, I'm going to keep this email and frame it, because it's like, is it really happening? So yeah, life is good.
Now that, I mean, you performed as the Edith Piaf clip that we saw. You took that to Los Angeles. You've done that there. Have you done Edith Piaf in New York?
Yes, I did it on the 92Y, because it was Mike Stoller's song that he wrote for Piaf, L'Homme à la Moto, black denim trousers, motorcycle boots. Then when I actually met Mike was at the Rubin Museum, because it was the Forever stamp inauguration at the USPS for Miles Davis and Piaf. So the Miles Davis family was there, Mike Stoller, Corky Hale, also Cicely Tyson, who recently passed away. Yes. I met her that day there. It was a wonderful event. And so I did it at also the Metropolitan Room in New York. And then there were talks of doing it again, and then, of course, COVID.
Well, yeah. We've got to get you back to New York when this all clears up. So Royal Albert Hall happens. What was the next day like for you? Was your phone ringing off the receiver? I mean, were the calls coming in?
It actually happened so that I didn't see that this was happening, and I didn't invest in it. Because my mind was already, I was moving to LA. And I had already done, like at the same time, in the same period of time, there was Royal Albert Hall and the Emmerdale TV series on Yorkshire television in the UK. So I kind of had reached my peak without even starting, and my mind was already in LA. So I think that event was in, oh God, I don't remember what month it was, but I think a few months later I was already in LA. And I moved to LA January 2011. April 2011, we're already at the Lee Strasberg Institute with Piaf, sold out. and I had just moved. So
Mhm.
it was just a hopping thing.
Well, let me ask you this. In most entertainers' lives, there's a fork in the road, and it's either New York or Los Angeles. Why did you choose Los Angeles as opposed to New York?
Life happened. Things happen to me, and so I just go along. So basically, I wanted to be an actress. Singing was out. It's like completely no, we're not looking at this aspect.
Now, did you have a preference as to where you wanted to be? Television, film, stage?
Film. But of course, my mother, oh, you belong to the stage, the theater, Shakespeare, London. I was like, well, let's. And I had friends that were going to LA, so I went with them. I liked it. Kept on going back.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2 years, I kept on going back and forth. And then when Royal Albert Hall happened, I was already set to go to LA. So things keep happening. Nothing has been planned. If I had it my way, I would already be in a ton of movies, and singing wouldn't be even in the equation. But life.
Well, you know, I've interviewed so many people. Some are ambitious, some are not. And I mean, some very successful people have told me that they are not ambitious. And it sounds to me as if a lot of opportunities have just come your way. How many things have you actually pursued in terms of your career? And how many things have happened as a result of circumstance, the people that you've known? And then another layer to that, are there certain things that you've pursued that have taken you in a completely different direction, such as acting and singing, as you've told us?
Yeah, so Edith Piaf happened because I was at the Beverly Hills Playhouse with Howard Deutsch. And one day I just did this scene from the movie Piaf because La Vie en Rose had just come out. And I transformed. And then there is a feedback after you do the scene. And Howie looked at me and he said, for the first 30 seconds, I didn't know it was you. You have to do this as a one-woman show. And I'm like, what is he talking about? This sounded so out of the blue. I had never even thought about it. So I give it a thought. I'm like, well, we'll be mixing the acting with the singing. And then at the time, Mandy Riggy, the director in that group at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, was like, I want to direct it. I see the potential. Let's do it. And she's a member at the Actors Studio. So something that I never thought I would pursue landed. And then I pursued it. And then it became this huge show. I've been with the show for 9 years. And it's been everywhere: Washington, New York, Baltimore, even London.
Well, obviously, I mean, from what we just saw, you are amazing doing this. But are there other singers out there that you also have emulated or thought of celebrating on the same level that you've done with Edith Piaf?
Yes, the new show is Dalida. Dalida was very famous in the Arab world, in Europe, and not very much in America because she chose not to become a star in America because she was already huge in Europe and in the Arab world. She sings in 14 languages. I did a show a year and a half ago in 7. So I have a long way to go, but she inspires me. And the movie had come out. So every time there is a movie of someone coming out, I do the show. It just happens at the same time, not because I'm like, oh, there is the movie, I have to do the show. It just happens.
Well, that's a perfect segue for this next clip that I'm going to show. And then we'll come back on the other side and we'll talk again. So
Okay.
Here's another clip of you singing in Arabic.
Yes, that's Dalida.
des sables, des plaines sans arbres, s'en va de son pays. Un jour il arrive, il touche la rive, il voit devant lui des fleurs, la grande rivière du bonheur. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. C'était un mirage, il n'y avait pas de rivière, et la douce et riche terre, ce n'était que du sable. Il reprend sa course vers une autre source, il finira par trouver le puits de la liberté. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Un homme des sables pour faire voyage n'a que l'espoir au cœur. Un jour il arrive, il touche la rive, il voit devant lui des fleurs, la grande rivière du bonheur. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena, salama. Salamaya, salama, rohana, ugena,
Thank God the singing has pursued you because it is amazing. Now you speak 5 languages, am I
Yes.
correct? And but is it easy for you phonetically? Do you learn things phonetically, or do you actually speak all the languages that you actually sing in?
So I speak 5, but I sang in 7. So the ones that I don't speak were Japanese and Greek. And the Japanese, I actually was lucky enough that my director knew a Japanese guy. And so he came and we sat down and I wrote it down phonetically with his supervision. And then I repeated. So I have a good ear.
Now, is there a language that's difficult for you to pick up?
Well, Japanese was difficult. I only sing that one song and I'm like, but Arabic I enjoy, even though I don't speak it. I know a few words, I understand a little, but Arabic is fun. French, of course, Edith Piaf and Dalida. Spanish, I speak it, so it's enjoyable. Italian, so yeah, it's easy once you.
Now, I want to go back to Edith Piaf for a moment because I'm such a fan of her music to begin with, and you just do such a wonderful homage to her. Have you performed this particular show in France as well?
No, because she's French, so the French know too much about it. So it's like, and
Well, I think you're ready.
Well, there are many Edith Piafs in France. I think I saw that. So it's as if you bring a Pavarotti show in Italy. People are like, well, there is one Pavarotti, and I think they feel the same. There is one Piaf.
Now, I want to go back again to your parents for a moment because God bless them and this wonderful gift that they've given to the world in you. But what were their thoughts about you pursuing a career in this business?
Well, my mom said, well, if you were a lawyer, I wouldn't have accepted it. Apparently, they did this thing when you are a toddler and you're doing your first steps. They do a circle with different professions.
Oh, really?
And I went straight into the arts. So they kind of knew.
That's great.
But I think they would have mourned if I wasn't an artist. So, yeah.
Well,
But
knowing you the way I know you now, I think I'd mourn as well.
thank you. But it's funny how things just keep happening. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Now, when you were going through what we call elementary school, is it still elementary school in Rome as well? Or do they have another name for the formative years?
Well, I went to French school, you see. I didn't even go to normal school. So the French education was that you go by numbers. You start at 11 or whatever it was, and then you finish at 1. So from 11 to 1.
And are you exposed to the arts in school there? Did you have a training in singing and acting before you went as an adult or young adult?
In French school, yes, they gave you the training. We had Anita Cocciante. She's the sister of a great singer in Italy. And she was actually our elementary school teacher in singing and musical education. So we started there. But again, it was never a thought. It's like, of course you can sing. What's the big deal, you know? And when I asked my mom, well, when I said to my mom, you know, in LA, they think I'm a singer. Well, we don't know whether I'm a singer or an actress. Like, well, you're not a singer. It's just like, my mom said, you're not a singer. Like, well, what am I doing?
The fact that you're so multifaceted, do people have trouble in LA, for example, trying to pigeonhole you? Not that you should ever be pigeonholed.
Well, a lot of people in LA think mainly as a singer, of me as a singer. Because, you know, I do more shows. A movie takes more time to make. So, you know, pre-production, whereas the show is bam, bam, bam. I have 7 shows a month sometimes. So people come to those more. Yes, some people who know me less, when I say, oh, you know, I'm an actress, they're like, Some who have known me from the beginning, they know I'm an actress too. But sometimes I'm like, but no, I'm an actress, you know that. Don't call me just a singer. I want to be known as both.
Now, beyond your parents, who are the people in the business who have made the biggest impact on your career, who have helped elevate you to the next level as you move through your career?
Like personally knowing them?
Yes.
Well, someone who really took me under their wing was dear Doris Roberts from Everybody Loves Raymond. Yes. I loved her. She was like my mom in LA. I actually lived a couple of months in her house, and it was the James Dean house. She had bought it from James Dean.
Wow.
So, you know, the Hollywood history, living it, breathing it. It was great to live those years with Doris by my side. So it was great because through her I met wonderful people. We would go on trips to New York. We would go to Broadway. We would watch wonderful musicals and plays. Then Jack Betts. He's a marvelous friend of mine from Spider-Man and Gods and Monsters. Theo Penglis from Mission Impossible. Ruta Lee, she's a riot.
Ruta Lee is a dear friend of mine. When was the last time you spoke with Ruta?
We email each other. I actually sent her the link to today.
Oh,
saying,
good. I hope she's watching. And Ruta, if you're watching, consider your ass kissed.
She's a riot. I love her. Last time I emailed her was for this show, but when I saw her was a few months ago because we support the same charity that Doris supported too in Texas. It's called Ranch Hands Rescue. It's for abused children, veterans with PTSD.
God bless you for that.
And it's through animal therapy that you find a certain release and heal. So Ruta,
how did you meet Ruta? I mean, I just am crazy about her.
I met Ruth at some event in LA, as you do. I met so many people at events and stuff, and we hit it off. And or maybe I'm sorry if I'm offending someone and I'm not giving them the credit that we met together. But and so we hit it off, and she's a riot. So basically, we're in Texas. She's raising money. The way Ruta raises money. Hi, honey, 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 honey. And she's got with the microphone, and she's sitting on people's laps, and they, wearing the cowboy hats, and she's raising money like Chris, like, I'm gonna kiss you. Give me $1,000. And so she's kissing
And
them.
she gets it.
Yes, she does.
She gets it.
And then I have a video because I was just filming all of that with my phone. I was like, this is too great not to film. And then she swings by me and she's like, hi, Elena, how are you, honey? Oh, well done. You sang a beautiful national anthem. Oh, anyone $1,000, $2,000? Who am I going to kiss? Is that your girlfriend? Is that your boyfriend? Great.
I love her. She is such a bright light. She's writing a book, and the title is Consider Your Ass Kissed.
Yes. I love it. She's so
That's how she signs her emails. Oh, I hope she's watching because I just love her.
Yeah, but great influences. We were talking. It's like the old Hollywood, the historical Hollywood, and it was just great to have the beginning.
Was it an easy transition for you to when you first went to LA? Did you know anyone when you first went there? Was it easy getting acclimated? How did you get started in LA?
I only knew Jack Betts because he had done spaghetti western movies in Italy, and the guy who actually dubbed him was a friend of mine. So we had a mutual friend. And so when I moved to LA, he did an introduction, and Jack and I hit it off right away. And he said, you must come study at the Beverly Hills Playhouse. And that's where I met Doris and where I met Harry Hamlin and Howard Deutsch. And that's just how it happened. And through the Beverly Hills Playhouse, I think things happened gradually. For example, Doris, at first, when Jack introduced me to her, she was like, oh, yeah, hi. Then I did a scene of Napoli Milionaria, and in Italian and English, and it was very fiery. She came to me. So what are you doing tonight? Shall we go for dinner? And so once you prove yourself worthy of those colossal actors and wonderful talents, then they take you on like it's safe. It's okay to talk to that little girl that just came.
Well, and the other thing is that you were not seeking something from them.
No,
that's the secret. Just be yourself, and they will come to you just as well. I do want to ask you about one other celebrity because I have another clip that I'm going to share. David Foster.
Oh, yeah, that happened too. I mean, it's going to be like I'm making it, but it keeps on happening. So it was Nespresso. It was the inauguration of Nespresso in Beverly Hills. And I went there, and then a friend of mine was like, sometimes he gets people from the audience to sing and hop on stage. So let's be at the very front. I was like, oh, he's not going to ask. So anyway, comes that moment where he asked, do we have anyone in the audience who sings? I wasn't going to raise my voice, my hand. My friend just pushed me on stage. I landed on his feet. And so he's like, oh, I guess you can sing. What do you sing? I'm like, oh, Edith Piaf. And so that's when it happened. And then we bumped into each other at events. We have mutual friends. And we might do something. We'll see. I'm still trying to convince him to do something on my father as a project. So.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, let's look at the clip, and then we'll continue with the conversation.
Only just one verse, okay?
Okay.
Not too much time. Give me a starting note and I'll follow you because I'm very good. I'm David fucking Foster, okay?
I
Go ahead.
Les yeux qui font ses liens,
Whoa.
un rire qui se perd sur sa bouche. Voilà le portrait sans retouche, dans lequel j'appartiens. Quand tu me prends dans ses bras, je regarde en rose.
goosebumps every time I see this clip because first of all, he's thinking, oh, I'm just bringing this gorgeous woman up on stage with me. Sure, she can sing. You open your mouth and you can see it in his body language, in his reaction to you. Congratulations. Well done.
Yeah, he just goes, whoa, and then he's trying to find my note and my key because it's totally improvised. And some people afterwards said, oh, tell me the truth. It's fine if you tell me you didn't improvise, right? Like, no, I never met the guy before. But looking at this clip and all the clips that you're putting in the show, I'm like, Elena's been good to me. I'm so grateful.
That's wonderful. Now, we've talked about the people throughout your life who have made an impact on your life. In addition to all the work that you do you mentor yourself?
Yes, I take on a couple of students when they beg for it because I'm like, I don't really I don't have time for this. So I do that on the side sometimes, definitely. But I also take lessons to brush up, to keep in shape with my mom. So we do Skype calls now because she's locked in Rome, I'm locked in London. So we do meet twice a week to, get the diaphragm going.
That's wonderful. Now, I want to ask you, with everything that you've done, since you've come into the business, this is a constantly evolving business. What are some of the biggest changes that have happened since you started that you have embraced? And what are some of the things that you still resist?
It's a lot,
excluded, of course.
Yeah, it's a love-hate with technology because I am more of a horse and carriage person. I'd be happy in the 1800s. But you have to know how to do this that we're doing, all the sound checks and stuff. It is evolving mainly now, I think. I mean, I've never done so many online shows and online charities and galas, and it's strange because as a performer, you need the audience, the warmth. I mean, there's nothing more wonderful than just be surrounded and embraced by the audience and the warmth and that reaction. And when you have them, that you can't know online.
That's true.
So that's what I miss. That is how it's evolving. And unfortunately, that's what it looks like where it's headed. But I hope we'll find balance because live is live. And that's the main. I think what's changing mostly is now.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have huge venues, small venues, medium venues.
Do you have a preference?
You know what? I get more jittery. Like it's always 30 seconds before a show, though, because before that it's like, oh, sound check, let's get dressed, let's do it, warm up, done. And then 30 seconds before when my band starts playing, I'm like, oh God.
As an entertainer myself, I'm always interested with other entertainers. That jittery moment that you have, obviously it's the nerves, but what is it that you are the most jittery about? I mean, because obviously I look at you walking on stage with David Foster and owning the room. A room that was his room until you hit the stage. What is it about you, or what is that thing that makes you the most jittery just before you walk out on stage?
Oh, yeah. I always forget. How am I starting again? Like, what's the first word? And then without even thinking, you get in front of the mic and you're like, you just open your mouth and it just happens. I don't think anymore. I'm just being.
Has there ever been a moment where you've hit the stage where you weren't prepared? I can't imagine that would ever happen with you.
No. And if it happens, let's say in the middle of the song or something, because sometimes, there is not the note you wanted or like as beautiful as you want, but you act it out, you see. So you go around it and you improvise.
It happens with, there's a very famous clip of Judy Garland singing at the London Palladium, and Lionel Bart was in the audience, Oliver, had just come out, and she wanted to impress him with As Long as He Needs Me. And she couldn't remember the lyrics. And it wasn't that she wasn't on top of her game that night. This was a new song for her, and she tried, and she said, let's try this again. And she stopped again. It's like that lyric was not there. Yeah. And then she says, please come back tomorrow night and I'm going to do it for you. She wanted to impress him. And of course, when she sang it, nobody could sing it like her.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's about, you know, making it fun. I mean, we're human. And as long as you have your audience as your pals and you encompass them with you, you can mess up. They'll forgive. They'll forgive because they like you, because they're there for you. There's no judgment. At least I was lucky enough not to have that.
Now, I want to ask you, because we do have some artists who will be watching this either later. This will be available on YouTube, and it will also be available on my podcast. What advice would you give to someone wanting to come into this business?
Never take no for an answer. I love it when people say, oh, this is not possible. Like, oh, really? So don't give up. Don't give in. Don't take no for an answer. That's what Doris used to say to me as well. And that was her motto.
Yes.
When something seems impossible, of course, I make it sound like everything went well, but there are moments where you feel down, where you're vocally tired, where you have a show and you're tired and you're like, oh my God, it's my 7th show of the month. What the hell? So just embrace it. Whatever life throws at you, embrace it as best you can. Keep a positive attitude. Leave the problems out of the door because no one's interested. As harsh as this may sound, I'm sorry, it's the business. You have to own that audition. You have to own that stage. The show must go on. And it's a tough business, but that's what we love. It's our vocation. It's what we live for. It's life. It's not work. We're lucky enough to actually live our work. So the advice
you know, hearing you talk and seeing everything that you've done and looking at your resume, it seems to me like the world truly is your oyster. Do you love to travel? Is there a particular place that you love to be in for a long period of time? Or do you love, as your mom referred to it, this gypsy life that you have?
Well, what comes to mind as you speak and ask me that is I had a very brief show. Like, I was in and out in Hong Kong, 3 days. Fly in, Hong Kong, never been, don't know anybody. But they gave me a car and a driver, and I went around. Then the next day I did the show, flew back, and met a lot of people because it was a reading. It was a club for private members, and you know there was Madame Louis Vuitton and the pilot from the Emirates Airlines. Very eclectic group of people. So you live those 48 hours. But then, for example, I love the treatment I get in Bulgaria because I come to Bulgaria as this superstar that's been in Hollywood and our pride and joy. So they give me the best suites and, you know, everything is yes, ma'am. So, and there I stay for a long time because I tour usually there. So I like both. I love to also go to places I've never been. It's not scary. Let's put it this way. It's not scary. It's part of the job, and it's the fun of the job too.
Well, I'll tell you, for me, part of the fun of the job is meeting people like yourself. Yeah. I just thank you, Barbara Sickman.
I love you. Thank you.
Barbara said you have to interview her. I want you to know, Maria, you will always have a platform with me. Anytime you have something that you want to talk about, or a cause, a product, a show, anything, you are always welcome here. I can't believe this. We are at the end of our show. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. If you enjoyed the show today, and I hope you have, and if you don't mind, and if you haven't done so already, please go to my website, richardskipper.com. sign my guest book with your thoughts about the show. That helps to boost me and other markets. I also want to let everyone know that tomorrow afternoon, I'm very excited about this. I get to sit down and chat with Kimberly Faye Greenberg. She has a show celebrating Fanny Bryce, and it's phenomenal. I've seen her a few times, and I'm a huge fan of hers as well. I also end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Go to your Facebook friends list. The fifth name that pops up, pick up the phone and call that person. Don't text them. Don't email them. Don't private message them. Pick up the phone and call them and let them know what they mean in your lives. As my dear friend David Friedman says, we're all in this together, but we're not in the same boat. And once again, Maria, I thank you for the gifts that you've given to the world and that you will continue to give to the world. You've got a YouTube channel, which I'm subscribing to. Everyone that's watching, subscribe to that channel. Again, thank you. I'm going to give you the final word. Anything that you want to talk about that we've talked about today that you want to expound upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any message that you want to put out to everyone who's watching now. And again, thank you.
Thank you so much, Richard. It's been fabulous. It's great to have this chat. Basically, I just want to put out there to everyone, it's an opportunity. Everything happens for a reason. This is an opportunity to get to know yourself if you don't know yourself, get to know other things, expand, get in touch, as you said, with people you didn't talk to very often in our hectic lives, and just make lemonade out of lemons. Like, for example, in this year, I have so many projects that are going to come into next year. Like, I have a huge show coming up on September in Bulgaria at the Roman Amphitheater with a Hollywood celebrity. I can't disclose everything yet. It's a 2,000-seat theater. It's going to be great. Then with many other friends, we're creating other concerts and shows around the world. Some movies are coming out and about. We're going to shoot. It all COVID permitting. But keep positive. Keep the fire and the flame alive, and all will be well. And I'm so grateful. Be grateful every day, people. There is so much to be grateful for.
Amen. And we're grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.